I'm actually going to go for someone who I don't think should be a first round pick, but I think people have him in the first round. So I'll start off by saying I have him overrated. I won't go into why. That's Kenny Pickett.
All right.
Yeah. I saw a scouting report on Kenny Pickett, and it was kind of weird. Like mid scouting report, I was like, "Oh, he's not as good." Like while I was watching his film, breaking down his film, I was like, "He's not as good as I thought he was." And again, I mean, I just again, we saw. I don't know if you guys follow NFL on Instagram. I don't know, Charlie Dillon, if you saw this. They did a mock draft, or they did a graphic of all the like their recent mock draft, and all the quarterbacks were taken. They had like 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 10, and they had Kenny Pickett at like 4. And I was like, that might have not been it, but I was like, come on. Kenny Pickett is going to be at best a Kirk Cousins successful, and Kirk Cousins great quarterback, and maybe a little bit more. And again, I could be wrong. I guess a lot of people have him as kind of a slightly worse Joe Burrow. I think significantly worse Joe Burrow. But you look at Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh, and again, I would say he's overrated, but to me, he's on kind of the borderline of fairly rated and over. I would say he's fairly rated, actually, because I think the media coverage recently about Kenny Pickett has showed their concerns towards him. So I'd say fairly rated. But again, a guy who just hasn't shown ability to do what elite quarterbacks have done, and that's fit it in tight windows and have that deep strength. I think we've seen it a lot, and maybe it's the hand size, although I think that was way overhyped and over analyzed.
I have my only problem with that, and hand size does not matter unless he has a fumbling problem, and he does have a fumbling problem.
Yeah, right.
So that's where it's important.
But again, I think a guy who still lacks a little bit of arm strength. When you look at Malik Willis, when you look at Matt Corral, Sam Howell, like lacks a little bit of that zip. And that ability to get downfield. But I do think Kenny Pickett, I do think he's a first round guy, but I would not be surprised if he falls to the second. And again, I think a lot of teams like teams who are desperate and are bad are just not looking to a guy like Kenny Pickett when next year there's CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. It's a very good QB class next year. I would say fairly rated on media coverage because they don't have him as some elite prospect.
Here's the thing. I think teams are very hesitant to take Kenny Pickett now just because, as you said, there are some really good quarterbacks next season, and there will be more because there are quarterbacks that shoot up the draft boards just like Kenny Pickett did this year. This is a guy who we didn't even think about going into this draft season, and he popped off. He had 44 touchdown passes this season. The stats are incredible for him. But when you watch his tape, you can see that he's okay. He's not – I don't think he's as good as Sam Howell, Matt Corral, and I can make my argument for Malik Willis. I would have him over Malik Willis just slightly, but I think if you want to play it safe when picking your quarterback, you might want to pick him.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you'd want to play it safe when you're picking your quarterback now, because playing it safe has led to the following quarterbacks, and be that as it may, these guys have been relatively successful. That's Mac Jones. He was the safe pick. Tua Tagovailoa, the safe pick. And Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were the safe picks in that year. And what we're seeing now is Justin Herbert, Zach Wilson, Davis Mills, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Those are the guys that are thriving. Kenny Pickett, Patrick Mahomes, yeah, of course. And that was Mitch Trubisky, who was the safe pick. And we're seeing now, and then there was Kyler Murray. That was a bit of a what's it called? Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was no other quarterback in that draft class.
And he was great.
And he was incredible. But what we're seeing that the safe pick, while it could be okay, and they do have potential, we still see the absolute potential in Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa. I even see it in Sam Darnold still. I still think he has that in him. But we don't see Kenny Pickett being able to make the plays that these elite quarterbacks are going to make. And I've kind of built up to this for a while. I don't know why I kept saying the same things over and over again. But he's just not – he's not Sam Howell. He's not Matt Corral.
But I think he does offer some upside.
He has some upside, but he's not like, I just don't think he's good enough to pick in the first round when there's so many good quarterbacks next year. And I think there's going to be a team that does it. There's going to be either Pittsburgh or Carolina or Seattle, or even I'm seeing Tennessee now, which is kind of ridiculous. And then there's obviously New Orleans still in the market. I don't think Carolina's going to look at him, but I just don't see the excitement.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think it's it's one of those things where it's kind of like I don't know how to explain, like Kenny Pickett. I really don't know how to kind of like analyze him, because I think, and I don't want to use the word boring, but it's almost that what the pick would be. I don't know. I mean, Charlie, what do you think?
he doesn't have the pizzazz that the other guys in this class do.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion on Kenny Pickett. Now, this is something that I hate when people do, and it's happened with Kenny Pickett. You're scrolling through YouTube or you're scrolling through Instagram or something like that, and all of a sudden, QB fake slide pops up.
Yeah.
All right. And you see one crazy highlight from Kenny Pickett. And all of a sudden,
He is
he's
rising.
he's the number 3 or number 2 quarterback in the draft.
He was the number 1 quarterback consensus for a very good period of time.
I don't see it. I feel like people, and it happens not just with Kenny Pickett, but it just happens where you see one clip and all of a sudden he's better than he was because he did a fake slide,
Which was then deemed illegal the next day.
which is not illegal, but
No, it goes against all the rules of having to give up,
I
let the
mean,
quarterback
it's
slide.
not technically illegal, but
Now
it's
it is. But now it is.
The CFE
Okay.
rule, yeah.
so, but it's just you see one play and you're like, wow, that was sick. What's his name? Kenny Pickett. I'm gonna remember that. So
Mhm.
I don't like it when that happens, and I'm not super high on Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's particularly good at anything compared to some of the other quarterbacks.
I mean, that's unfortunately how it goes. Yeah.
He's a good quarterback. There's no doubt about it. He had an excellent season at Pitt. He is going to get drafted in the first couple of rounds. Would I take him in the first? No. Would I take him in the second? Probably, if he falls to me. I think he's a good enough player to take there, but at that point, he is being overrated because I think he's potentially number 4, number 5 quarterback in this class.
Yeah, I didn't even say overrated.
Yeah.